All right. Here are your notes in section 4.2. We're looking at terrestrial and aquatic biomes and ecosystems. Okay, so what a biome is just one way of organizing the interactions between biotic and abiotic components is to divide the biosphere into biomes. So biome is a large geographical region with a specific climate and the plants and animals that are adapted to that climate. Okay, so biomes are bigger. They contain many different ecosystems, each defined by particular local biotic and abiotic factors. Okay, so it's just a bigger way that we can define these areas of our biosphere. Okay, so the Canadian terrestrial ecosystems can be grouped into four different main biomes. The tundra, so way up north, which we'll talk about here in a minute. Oh, there we go. Okay, the tundra, okay, way up north. The taiga, which is actually most of Canada's biome. Okay, the grasslands, temperate deciduous forest, which is kind of just in the southern Ontario area. Okay, the mountains are shown in purple, so this would be like the Rocky Mountains. Okay, so Alberta is right over here in the grasslands area, along with this would be Saskatchewan and part of Manitoba. Okay. Okay, so looking at each kind of ecosystem, so the taiga ecosystem is the boreal forest. So some common abiotic factors. Okay, these are northern and central Alberta forests. So that's changeable weather, soil contains some water and is acidic. Precipitation is 50 to 250 centimeters per year. Amount of sunlight varies. The parts of the trees that reach into the forest, like the top part of the forest or the canopy, they're the upper layer of vegetation in the forest, and they receive the most sunlight. And if you've ever been to like those forests, there's not a lot growing on the ground of these forests. Okay, some biotic community. Okay, black and grizzly bears, wolverines, weasels, moose, deer, grouse, spruce and pine trees. Okay, shrubs, ferns, mosses, and lichens. Okay, and so just some showing kind of what's there. Okay, the muskeg ecosystem, so this is kind of further north. Okay, soil is above, muskeg is the soil that's above the permafrost, that's swampy and boggy in the summer. So this is the northern part of Alberta and mostly like Northwest Territories. Okay, really cold temperatures, really short growing season, permafrost, so there's a layer of soil that's permanently frozen year round. And so the top part, when it defrosts, it kind of gets spongy because there's nowhere for the water to go. It can't seep in past the permafrost. Okay, and then really low precipitation, so 50 to 150 centimeters annually. Okay, some biocommunity, so like black bears, caribou, ptarmigans are a type of bird. Okay, rapidly flowering plants. Okay, so when the sun does come out, they flower really quickly. Okay, moss and lichen. Okay, not many trees or anything that they don't get enough sunlight. Okay, grasslands ecosystem. So this is in central and southern Alberta. So this is where we live. Okay, is in the grasslands ecosystem. So there's increased sunlight and warmer temperatures than the muskeg and boreal forest ecosystems. Okay, we have rich soil. That's why there's a lot of farming in the grassland ecosystem. We don't get a lot of precipitation, and that's why we do so much with irrigation and so on, because we don't get the water that we need. We have really good soil, but we need to add water to it. So some biotic community, bison. Okay, we're natural to here. You don't see many around anymore. Okay, deer, rabbits, hawks, yellow belly sapsuckers. Okay, small bird. Fescue grasses, okay, and grasshoppers. Okay, you can probably name a lot more. Okay, because this is our ecosystem that we live in. And we know what it looks like. Deciduous forest ecosystem. So this is kind of in central Alberta. Okay, if you've ever kind of driven north, like up to Grand Prairie and stuff, you kind of go through the different. You have the grasslands till well, just about Edmonton, and then all of a sudden you go north a bit. Okay, you hit some deciduous forests, and then you go north, and all of a sudden that's where you hit the boreal forest, where it's all trees. Okay, so in this area, increased sunlight, warmer temperatures in the muskeg or boreal forest ecosystems. Again, rich, fertile soil. A lot of the trees have been taken out to allow for us to cultivate that soil. Okay, it gets more precipitation. Okay, and that's as you go further north, you see less of the irrigation happening. Okay, biotic community. So again, black bears, weasels, moose, deer, woodpeckers, deciduous trees, shrubs. Okay, deciduous trees are just the trees that have leaves that drop in the fall. This will look more like this. Okay, and then we have their different aquatic ecosystems. So aquatic ecosystems, they are just, again, aquatic meaning water. So water covers more than two-thirds of our planet. 97% of that water is salt water, so in the ocean. Okay, millions of organisms live in these aquatic ecosystems. Oceans control the weather patterns on our planet to a large extent. Okay, they provide constant supply of fresh water through evaporation. Okay, because when the salt water evaporates, just pure water evaporates, and then it comes down as precipitation, and that's fresh water. Okay, most fresh water on Earth exists as snow and ice. So, like, of the 3% of the fresh water that exists, almost 2%, I'd say, or even more, exists as snow and ice. So in Alberta, the major aquatic ecosystems are freshwater ecosystems, okay, lakes and ponds and so on. Okay, lake ecosystems. So in different parts of the lake, okay, the amount of sun available, the water temperature, oxygen levels, okay, can all vary. And so organisms that live there would vary also. Okay, so just kind of a cross section of a lake. So kind of closest to like the beach area, okay, is what we call the littoral zone. Okay, that's where most of the plant life grows because it can get sunlight. Okay, in the kind of middle of the lake, okay, the amount of light that can penetrate kind of determines the limnetic zone. Okay, and so there's not a lot living there. Okay, and then underneath, okay, is what we call the profundal zone. And yeah, again, it doesn't get the sunlight, so it can't grow. And again, if you don't have the producers, you can't get the consumers. So kind of talking about each of these. So littoral zone, so closest to the shore. So it's from the shore to the point where no more plants are rooted to the bottom. It's to get to that point where it's too deep and the plants don't grow anymore. Aquatic plants that grow to the surface, such as bulrushes and water lilies, take a hold where it's shallow. In slightly deeper areas, plants that are rooted to the bottom but completely submerged may thrive. Okay, this is the most productive part of the lake. Again, where the producers are, that's where other things are going to take advantage and eat the producers. So the area where the algae and plants take advantage of the sunlight, and again, the producers can't happen without that sunlight. The size is determined by the depth and the slope. So if you have a really shallow sloping littoral zone, you can get a lot more plants, where if it slopes off really quick, then you're going to have a larger profundal zone. Okay, the limnetic zone, this is the area of open lake where there's enough light for photosynthesis to occur, okay, but there's nothing to kind of get a root. Like, you can't, no plants could grow because there's nothing, no soil for them to root in. So plankton is the most common organism. Plankton are autotrophic and heterotrophic microorganisms. So autotrophic, again, meaning producers, they can produce their own food, but heterotrophic, they can also eat other things. So heterotrophic plankton are invertebrate animals. They feed on autotrophic plankton, which are tiny types of plants and algae. Okay, both types of plankton are food for consumers in the higher trophic levels, such as fish, tadpoles, birds, and so on. The profundal zone, okay, this is the region beneath the limnetic zone, kind of where there's not enough light for photosynthesis to occur. This zone's not usually found in ponds because ponds, the light can reach right down to the bottom. So the only source of nutrients in this area is dead plants and animals that falls from the limnetic zone. This detritus, which is the dead plants and animals, is slowly broken down by bacteria or consumed by other bottom-dwelling invertebrate and fish, and we call these detritus feeders. So those are feeding on all the dead things that kind of fall down. Bacteria then use oxygen to decompose all of these dead materials, reducing the amount of oxygen available in the water. So in the absence of sunlight and plants to replenish the oxygen levels could be reduced to very low levels. Okay, so only larger organisms that survive, or the only larger organisms that survive are those that can tolerate really low oxygen levels. Okay, so usually you aren't going to see very many like larger fish or anything like that. It's usually smaller and invertebrates. Again, invertebrates just means it doesn't have a backbone. And then a very few fish, and like the fish that are there, such as carp, that would get that deep. All right, so that's the end of section 4.2. Okay, again, just look over in your notes. You went through everything already in your assignment.